Good evening, everyone. In this presentation today, my entire endeavor is going to kind of give you an idea of whether or not you should do an MBA in the first place. A lot of people think of MBA as an option to go against an engineering subject that you have taken up, or get out of a job that you are not interested in, or it almost appears that I can't do everything else, therefore let me do an MBA. But if you really look at deep into what an MBA will give you and whether or not it's going to really be useful to a career which is probably going to span 35-40 years, you will suddenly start thinking that why haven't you started thinking of it at a very early age? So that's going to be my broad idea of it, as well as to give you an idea of what are these institutes which have an MBA college, what are the specializations that an MBA gives you, and how easy or difficult it is to get into the best B schools in the country. The B schools are the business schools in the country. So that's going to be my broad agenda today. The agenda starts with very clearly a why MBA kind of an answer, a question. Then we also talk about, while MBA is Masters in Business Administration, there are various specializations and various types of super specializations which are available, and the wide variety that you have itself can give you enough reasons why you should look at management as a career. Then I'm also going to talk about what are the common concerns that one has while doing an MBA, or rather even planning for an MBA. And the fourth one, after having solved the problem, saying that okay, is this what you really want to do? Is MBA the right area for you or the career for you? We will also look at how do you really score well in exams? What are the scores mean in, let's say, an exam called CAT? And what scores do you need to get to ensure that you get there into the best B schools? I'll also then talk about getting into the IIM and top B schools. And finally, we'll talk about Vistamind. Vistamind is an institute which trains students for CAT, GMAT, a lot of banking and SSC exams also. We are primarily into aptitude training and of course soft skills and personality development training in that sense. But that for later. What you need to do right now is to look at whether or not MBA is the right path for you over the next 2 years, if required be, or rather, in fact, for looking at that itself as a career path in that sense, management as a career path. Okay. Without much ado, let me just tell you that this is probably the one individual course or a degree which is completely sector independent. A career, you are probably an IT engineer, a computer science engineer, you can get into manufacturing. You are a mechanical engineer, you can get into FMCG products, fast moving consumer goods. You are a BCom, you need not be into finance, you might be into human resource development. You are a BA in psychology, you can actually do financial modeling. You'll be surprised. The number of choices that one has doing an MBA is unlimited. In fact, this is the only sector or the only course in the world, forget about India, the only course and or a degree in the world which gives you the freedom to choose, freedom to have the flexibility. One example I can give you of my own classmate from IIM Calcutta. This guy did a sales and marketing job with me way back in 97 to 2000 in sales of passenger cars in Maruti Udyog Limited. Today it's called Maruti Suzuki. Today, this gentleman is the senior director at an institute, at an organization called CRISIL. CRISIL is into credit rating of companies and even various countries for that matter under the S&P, the Standards and Poor's company. It's a purely compliance and financial kind of a job, whereas his career probably started off with completely sales and marketing. And believe me, friends, this is just one example. There are every example. In fact, people who have done computer science engineering, worked in financial sector for 20 years, are now HR heads of large corporations. HR, human resources, remember that. I mean, financial guys, how can they become HR? Or HR professionals, people graduating from XLRI, HR professionals, and ending up as CEOs of Citibank. In fact, there was a guy called John Reed, who was an HR professional, became a CEO of John Reed before our own Indian Vikram Pandit became one. You will be surprised, and this is just a tip of the iceberg. It is one sector which can be based on a personal choice. When you do your 10th standard, you hardly know what else to do. If you are a South Indian, very unfortunately, I'm not saying South Indians are unfortunate, but it's like either it's an engineering degree or a medicine degree that you need to look at it. Yes. The key problem here is that the parents think that the job or the career is only based in either medicine or in engineering. Even North Indian, especially West or East Indian, you will have at least a BCom or a CA as a predominant area of choice. Engineering, CA, or cost accountancy and chartered accountancy and medicine are not the only three areas. There are multiple other areas, and you will only get to know only when you have finished your degree. What if you have taken an MBA? What if you have taken a BCom or an engineering without really wanting to do that in the first place? How do you change that career? And that's the reason why an MBA can give you the freedom to get there, can give you the flexibility to get there. I'll explain to you why that happens also. That's another thing about this MBA is it's a sector based on growth potential. Whether it is in terms of your responsibility that you get or in terms of the money that you get over a period of time, this is purely a merit-based sector, which I'm not saying others are not, but this is probably the most merit-based sector that you will ever find. Third, and interestingly, is that you can train yourself to be an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs start off being engineers, but somewhere or the other in their life, go back to a B school, either do a 1-year program or 2-year program, or even at least a 6 months, 3 months programs to understand the underlying principles of management. Almost everybody you think of might have attended a management development program in one of the top institutes in the world or in the IIMs in India. Just about anybody at the top. Simply because if you want to be in the business side, you need to understand, especially if you want to scale up your business at a larger levels, you better be ready for understanding the management principles. So this is a sector which will give you the freedom to do what you want to do. There's another reason why I normally tell people that, boss, do your MBA, become an entrepreneur. Worst case scenario, let's say your business does not do well, you can get back to a job. Think about it. If you are an engineer, for whatever reasons, let's say you're a computer science engineer, you work for 3 years. Then, let's say you do business and it doesn't work for 3 more years. Very, very likely that you will be out of business and out of job for a long time to come, unless you do something else really, really well. Whereas that's not the case with an MBA, because the kind of skills that you will develop are completely different from what you develop as an engineer or a BCom guy in that sense of the word. The next thing that comes up about an MBA is that it is very, very financially rewarding. I was just talking to a guy. In fact, all of us know about the initial salary of engineers. If you are not from an IIT, if you are not from an NIT, the top few NITs, then the average salaries that an engineer gets is about 3 to 4 lakhs. If you are not even an engineer, for whatever reason, if you're not from St. Xavier's, you're not from St. Stephen's, you're not from the top schools top colleges in the country, then the average salary will be in the 2 to 3.5 lakh range if you're a non-engineer too. But for an MBA, even at the 100th ranked institute in the country, there are 3,500 institutes of MBA, by the way, in India alone. Even if you are the 100th ranked institute, the minimum salary probably will start off at 4.5 lakhs. And our average salary could be in the 6 lakh range. And of course, the top salaries could go to any numbers if you are from an IIM. We'll talk about that. Then we talk about the faster salary growth. If you're a BCom, you start off with 2 years, let's say 2.5 lakhs per annum salary, or even 3 lakhs per annum salary. 10 years later, even after 10 years, your salary would probably reach something like 10 lakhs or 12 lakhs at the max. That is if you are performing brilliantly year after year after year. But if you start off even at 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs in a MBA kind of I'm talking about the 50th ranked institute or 100th ranked institute, within 10 years, you will be reaching the 25-30 lakh range. In fact, I had the good fortune of talking to a guy who is doing exceedingly well in Infosys kind of an institute, Infosys kind of a company. He started his career 12 years back at 3.25 lakhs as the salary. Today, after 12 years, he is still at 16. Whereas an MBA, even an average MBA, Infosys, mind you, is one of the top companies in the country. But here, even an average MBA, if you start up at something like 5 lakhs or 4 lakhs, which is what it will be when you would have done 12 years back, that guy 12 years later will be earning nothing less than 30 lakhs. In fact, we do this on a regular basis. The compounded annual growth rate, the kind of growth rate that you get in MBAs, the MBA salaries are closer to 20-22% per annum. Whereas for an engineering or a non-engineering, the percentage growth year after year are as low as 6% or as high at max of 10%. Not my numbers. Please look at every information that is available on the website. And that's the beauty idea about an MBA. Now you will also see why you can do an MBA in a moment from today. It's of course a fast track career. It's merit-based growth track we talked about. You do well, you go through the top level secilians. You can be a general manager by 35 and a CEO by 50. A lot of people, CEOs, are by the time at max by 45 to 50, they reach closer to the CXO positions. And last but not the least, it's a personal satisfaction that you can get by being probably yourself, because you can look at being a decision maker, you lead people, you take responsibility. Of course, there are lots of challenges being an MBA too. Ashok, you are asking a lot of questions. No, don't worry about it. Let me just go through this, and any information you want, we will send it across to you too. Now, what is important here about why should I do MBA? Without any doubt, I'll also tell you that it is sector independent, I said. Look at what kind of jobs that you get or specializations that you get. I'm going to breeze you through this. I'm not going to dwell too much on this. But the idea here is to show you that look at your background. Look at your background, just one minute. And then you will see that depending on what are your strengths and skill sets, you would be in a better position to be able to do that. Okay. See, somebody is asking what are the careers after law. Please understand, I mean, this is MBA and career options to a large extent, friends. If you need anything information on law, we also do train for CLAT. Please get in touch with me on that particular point of it. I will be able to give you enough and more information on that also. Okay. Right now, the concentration incidentally is on MBA because it will be very difficult to digress from that, as most of them are of that area for the moment at least. Right? Please bear with me, Sahil. So here is where I want to talk about very quickly on what are the kinds of jobs that are available or the kinds of specializations that are available after doing an MBA. Consulting, which is probably one of the most interesting areas that people want to go into after MBA. Background required? Doesn't matter anything. Any degree in engineering is fine. You just have to be in the top academically. You need to understand economics and probably specialize in general management when you do your MBA. What are the kinds of skills required? Excellent communication skills. See, you will realize that these are all general skills: oral and written, logical and analytical abilities, which can be trained and you can improve upon that, structured problem solving, people management and team skills. Once again, what you do in your college, in your organization, also through teamwork, through organizing festivals, cultural events, etc. You can understand this. Critical thinking, of course. And one thing which is important in consulting and in fact even in investment banking is Excel and PowerPoint ability to do these kind of PowerPoint presentations and using Excel as a tool for doing lots of business solutions. The kind of companies that you will get, if you have any idea about consulting, the absolute top institutes in the country are McKinsey Consultants, Boston Consulting Group, Bain Consultants, Booz & Company, Monitor, A.T. Kearney, Arthur B. Little, Diamond, PwC, KPMG, Accenture in IT, IBM in IT, you name. These are absolutely, none of them. Please realize that any degree or engineering, it doesn't matter you're a BA, BCom, BSc, or for that matter, BTech. You need, of course, to have the skills that I'm talking about and would love to travel to is for consulting. Similarly, investment banking. Look at understand. The kind of jobs that are required are strategic advisory, mergers and acquisitions, trading, and of course, fundraising like the IPOs, debt, etc. What are the skills required? Once again, problem solving skills, mathematics abilities, analytical skills, critical thinking. Economics is one thing which you will see that any good MBA should have them. Economics doesn't mean that you need to have a BA in economics. You just have to understand how Indian economy works and how demand and supply work, kind of things. Good communication skills, and of course, people management becomes a requirement too. What I'm basically trying to say, again, top companies, if I just quickly go through, Goldman, Merrill, Morgan, JPMC, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Citibank, etc. kind of things, are all companies which take people if you are good in MBA. So lots of people ask this question, sir, how do I reach these top companies? The best way and the only way, frankly, is to do an MBA and specialize in these areas or improve these areas. Once more, one other idea that you will need to understand is that these skill sets that I'm talking about are, or rather can be acquired. Lots of people do not believe, don't understand this logic. You are an engineer, you are a medical guy, you are a CA, it doesn't matter. These skills that we are talking about can easily be acquired by people. And that's the beauty of an MBA. Let's look at marketing and sales, for example. You can get into brand product management, sales, business development, digital marketing nowadays, advertising, etc. What skills are required again? Communication skills, oral and written, analytical abilities for anything you need to analyze, guys, good persuasive skills, ability to sell. You can see this, people management. If you are the person who takes responsibility for things as well as are able to manage people, that's great asset as an MBA and a manager tomorrow. Quick thinking, decision making, and of course, if you are good in creativity, marketing and sales could be also a very great idea. Lots of companies, Hindustan Lever, P&G, Nestle, Cadbury's, Samsung, Apple, Motorola, Airtel, Vodafone, Flipkart, Snapdeal, Amazon, any of these companies take lots and lots of marketing and sales people. And again, an MBA can get you there much more easily. Finance, there are corporate finance, banking companies, financial services, Again, what are the kinds of things? Of course, you will be surprised. I'm just repeating myself again and again. But what I want to understand, what want to make you understand is look at the kind of skills that require that I'm giving it to you. Each one of them can be acquired over a year or two. One extra thing in finance, which lots of people have to have it inherently probably, is the attention to detail, because you can't make mistakes in finance, because every mistake can kind of really cost a lot to the company that you're working for. Of course, MS Excel skills, where all these things, if you are a manager, you'll also of course have to work for long hours. All the banks, all the capital markets, Citi, HSBC, Standard Chartered, HDFC, ICICI, SBI, capital markets like SBI Caps, Edelweiss, ICICI Securities, Motilal Oswal, Futures First. These are the companies, guys, which are very good in companies. Rating agencies, I was talking about CRISIL, ICRA, corporate, all the big corporations will require finance, corporate finance in that sense. What I'm trying to say, if you can get the gist of it, I'm just now going to kind of quickly take you through the entire other things, is just this. The skills required for any kind of a management job is very clearly quantitative skills, analytical skills, interpersonal skills, and of course your people management. Various things, communication skills are obviously going to be very important. These are called general skill sets. These are not skill sets which are available to only an engineer, only a medical guy, or only a CA or a BCom or a BA guy. Any of these skills can be acquired by any individual. You will be also seeing very soon that that's one of the reasons why when these business schools look at students, they are not going to test you in the knowledge that you have of 11th, 12th class or your degree. They're going to test you in the knowledge of your 8th, 9th and 10th classes. If you are good in your 8th, 9th and 10th math, 8th, 9th and 10th English and basics of reasoning analytics, you are there. That's the beauty of it. Even HR, if you can see, what kinds of various HR are there? Compensation management, training and development, staffing, conflict resolution, etc. But again, what you require is very simple. People management skills, attention to detail, and communication skills. And of course, in HR, you also need a lot of patience for yourself. Again, I'm just giving you the idea behind what you have available in this. Then you can look at information systems, those of your engineers. While you can become a software guy, please look at it that the moment you become an MBA, you get into business analyst positions and or project managers very fast. Right? Again, the only difference for an IT professional here is that you need to also know some basics of technology, which technology you use for which kind of a business that you want to take it up. That's going to be very important. Top companies, of course, most of us know Microsoft, Google, IBM, Wipro, Facebook nowadays also comes under IT in that sense. But of course, Facebook also has marketing and sales, it has operations, it has everything else in that sense. App development becomes again another thing. Photon Infotech, which was based out of Chennai and US, is again a very strong company which develops apps. There are hundreds of app development companies. This is close to $1 billion company by just developing apps, and you need to be a business analyst or a project manager to get there, and that means you need to be an MBA. You can be a software guy also, guys. I'm not saying you can't be a software guy, but then the growth in the software will be slow and steady, whereas an MBA, you will also be not just growing but also making a lot of money at the same time. There are analytics areas again, very much coming up as a next level of MBA kind of things. I'm just skipping this for a simple reason that these are some things that are available for you to look at when you are looking at an MBA. It is not one sector. I told you sector independent. You can choose any area and you will be surprised that there are hundreds and hundreds of choices that are available. And to add it all, there is an agribusiness management, rural management, international business, healthcare, pharma management, retail management, energy management. Now e-commerce management has come in, entrepreneurship. IIM Lucknow has a sustainable development management, corporate social responsibility. I mean, there's too many things which are there. My entire concern of giving you this quick wrap up of this is what I started off with. Why an MBA? MBA is not for just getting a job. There are the flexibility and the number of areas that you get are so high that, and the beauty of it is any skill set that you have can be put to great use and get into those kind of sectors. As I said, there are literally hundreds of companies which need managers. In fact, in India, which is growing so rapidly, will require a lot more managers that you can ever think of. That is the reason why there is a proliferation of so many management schools. That's also the reason why there are 19 IIMs these days and so many other institutes which take about 200, 300 students per year. And yet, we need more managers. I don't think there is a better time to be in India and look at management as a career as such. Of course, there are certain common concerns that people have, and that's where I'm going to pick and choose and tell you some of these things. First concern that a lot of people have is, but aren't the MBA fees very high? The answer is yes, of course, but it's probably the best investment you can make. See, you put in 15 lakhs of rupees in doing an MBA from an IIM, the average salary you will get at the end of 2 years, or median salary, not even average salary, is again 15 to 16 lakhs. If you're in the top 50% of the full class that you are in, you should make the same money that you have invested in the 2 years of MBA. But that's only first part of it. The second part of it is how fast you can grow. To give you a small idea, if somebody has joined an MBA or graduated in 2000, their average salary in 2000 would have been something around 6 lakhs per annum. The same guys who started with an average of 6 lakhs per annum, in 15 years today would be earning nothing less than 60 lakhs per annum. 10 times it grows. On an average, I'm telling you, it could be much more for people in the investment banking and consulting sectors, a little less in some of the HR, human resource management kind of sectors. Average marketing and sales will be in this range. 6 to 60 lakhs in 15 years is almost impossible in any other degree or course that you can ever do in the country. If you do it from a top class institute, it's only going to be much better than that. Please realize that is the reason why MBA fees, when people look at it as MBA fees are high, they're not idiots to increase the fees too much. Some of the institutes you may not want to join because they're very, very high. But I'm saying the top 30, 40 institutes, it's still worth joining because the long run, when you look at it, it's going to give you the value for it. You get excellent education loans. If you get into the top 30 institutes, you can be rest assured that the banks will come running to you to give you the loan. If you don't get into the top 30, it's a different issue. But obviously, when you are trying to do an MBA, you don't want to do it from the 3,500th ranked institute. You would like to do it from the top 50 or top 30. And once you get into these colleges, there is 100% chance that you get into a education loan, good education loan, without much ado, without almost a collateral at that level. And that's very, very strong. And you will be able to comfortably service your loans too. The next question that lots of people ask is, do I need work experience? The answer is, just wait for 10 minutes, Ravish, then I'll answer your questions too, if you can hold on. Do you need work experience to an MBA? Not really. In fact, 23% of the students of IIM Ahmedabad last year, are purely freshers. About 50% of the students in most institutes are less than 1 year experience, which means almost no experience. However, please realize that if you have work experience, it will definitely help you to get that extra bit of points, because when these institutes take the selection or give you the selection, they'll give you 5% or 10% marks for having some kind of a work experience. But is that mandatory? No reason at all. No at all in the first place. In fact, the lower the institute you go to, the number of freshers in the institute goes up much, much higher. 5%, in fact, that's what I've given you. And then many B schools don't give any weightage to, like FMS does not give as any weightage to your work experience in the first place. Thanks, Ashok, for your concern. All top B schools have significant freshers, as I have said just now. The other common concern is what would be chances. If you have already done your MBA, that's not what we are looking at. We look at how to get into the various kinds of areas by improving your skills. But here, I am going to talk about what if you are not an MBA and looking towards that. What are my chances of getting into an MBA college, the top colleges for that matter? My answer is it's absolutely better than you can think. CAT takers have declined over the last 7-8 years. In 2008, 2,75,000 people applied. This year, it's only 2,18,000. It's been a downward trend. But in the same time, there are 19 IIMs which have come in, and every other institute, whether it is SP Jain, MDI Gurgaon, the IITs, the Narsi Monjis of the world, all of them have increased their seats from about 120, 200 to 300 to 400 seats per institute, which clearly means that the number of colleges which are available for you to take up, the number of seats that are available to take up have gone up significantly higher, and the number of people writing has come down, which means your chance of getting through will be that much more higher. And of course, top 40 B schools have excellent placements, which clearly means that I think this is a plan that you should worth trying. Those if you're not done from the top 100 institutes, which is what some of them feel, if you're not into the kind of a job that you need to get in, probably it's a time to look at a 1-year executive MBA also. There are enough 1-year executive MBAs which you can, supplement your normal MBA. That's what probably Ravi is asking. Is that going to be useful? My answer is yes, it would be if you plan your career. There are lots of people who do a double MBA to make sure that they, if they have not done from the best of the schools, they kind of supplement it with a better MBA degree for 1 year. What if you're a non-engineer? I would say, boss, there is zero bias against non-engineers. In fact, 4 IIMs have offered more weightage to if you are a non-engineer. In fact, IIM Ahmedabad, the number 1, number 2 institutes, IIM Ahmedabad and Calcutta, give more weightage if you are a non-engineer than if you are an engineer. I'm not saying that if you're an engineer it's bad, but if you're a non-engineer, it is better. In fact, they also give very, very good marks to diversity. Some of them give 5% marks to diversity. If you're a girl, non-engineer, boss, you have a much better chance of getting there. Then the next question obviously comes in saying that, okay, boss, how do these IIMs, B schools select students? Do they select in the, is there a method in the madness, or they don't do it? It's a very simple method. One, there is a return test. Then there is a GD or an interview, where at the time of GD interview, they'll also give you a return analysis test. Then, but they also look at your 10th, 12th degree scores along with your work experience to make it a complete comprehensive evaluation for final selection to your B schools. Very, very quickly, each IIM and B school will have their own formulae. The key parameters, of course, are the CAT, XAT scores, the return test scores is such. Single most area in most institutes is the return test, which is an aptitude test. We'll talk about the CAT exam. We'll also talk about others in a moment. Second most important thing is the interview that you get, except for 1 or 2 where the weightage could be 10 to 15% or 20% like the FMSs. The interview percentage weightage will be as high as 35 to 45%, which means to say that 15-20 minutes that you give in an interview could make or break your final selection too. That means you can really, really prepare for that. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. All the sins of your past will be erased, can be erased if you can perform in your written test and that 15-20 minutes of interview. Of course, for that 15-20 minutes of interview, you need to prepare well. Remember, an Olympic racer, for that 10-second race, he prepares for 4 years. You will have to prepare for 1 year at least, or at least 3 months for these kind of things, without any doubt about it. There is a written essay which requires you to ensure that your written skills, ability to write a proper essay is also pretty high. your academic profile of 10th, 12th degrees matter, and finally your work experience also matters. There are other factors I told you about diversity, like girls or non-MBAs, non-engineers, sorry, can give the value for your overall selection. This is the basic way in which somebody gets selected to the best B schools. So the first level, of course, all the next ones, interview, written essay, academic profile, work experience, diversity, all this will matter only if you cross the first hurdle, and that is the written test hurdle. That's probably a CAT score or a JAT score or anything else. What are these scores? Well, let's just quickly look at it. The key exams that you write could be the CAT, the IIMs, the IITs, SP Jain, the MDIs, the FMSs, the NITIs of the world take the CAT score. There are almost all institutes take the CAT score. XAT, the Xavier's aptitude test, is taken by XLRI, SP Jain, etc. SNAP is a Symbiosis National Aptitude Test taken by all the Symbiosis B schools. There are 14 of them. Institutes like NMAT and NMIMS take their NMAT. IFT has its own exam. There are other exams like CMAT, MAT, ATMA. Take some of the institutes, lower level institutes take these scores. If you're interested in an MBA abroad, then the exam to write is GMAT. Again, whether you write CAT, whether you write ZAT, or whether it's GMAT, the areas which come in those exams are the same. I said in the very beginning, what they're testing is only the 8th, 9th, 10th levels in that sense of the word, and hence it becomes that much more easier. This is what I'll just quickly give you as the backgrounder. The CAT exam is an online exam. 2015, if you have anybody written it, was conducted on a single day, by the way. It has, if you notice, 5 areas: quantitative ability, data interpretation, logical reasoning, verbal ability, and reading comprehension. VRC is verbal and reading comprehension. So I can consider them as English section or 2 sections of verbal and reading comprehension. Depending on which institute and which exam you write, these are divided into 3 sections, 4 sections, 2 sections, etc. But all of these are absolutely base level, 8th, 9th, 10th level aptitude areas. Anybody, once again, I'll just repeat what I said, anybody who has done 10th class properly, 8th, 9th, and 10th properly can do this, do or prepare for this exam and get through. So you can see it is completely degree independent, and the scope is tremendous. And 3, more important than that, it is based on merit from what you do today. What happened in the past will help, will affect you a little, will help a little also if you have done very, very well. But what you do from now onwards will be completely different from what the 20, 22 years, 25 years of your life has been if you do decide to do an MBA. This is something which I wanted to quickly tell you. This is last year's marks. Remember this, there are 100 questions. Each question carries 3 marks. Lots of people don't realize the easiness in which you can get into the IIMs. Now, it's easy only when you realize the easiness of it. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult. 300 marks, what scores do you need to get into an IIM? Here is where the information is. If you want to get into a top class IIM, you need a 97 plus percentile. All the new IIMs and etc. have taken a 96 plus this time, but I'm saying 97 plus, you have a very, very good chance of the top institutes. At 97 plus, you just need 156, 157 marks out of 300 if you are a general category student. If you are an OBC student, you just need 123 plus, 125 plus, 90 percentile, and you will make it to the best institutes in the country. If you are an OBC and you want to get into new IIMs, you can probably get at 110, 112 also. If you are an SC standard, scheduled caste, at 80 percentile, that is 101 marks, chances are that you get into the top institutes, the top IIMs I'm talking about. And you are a scheduled tribe candidate, then at 80 plus marks, 85 marks out of 300, remember this, at 70 percentile you can get into the top institutes. Please understand, if top institutes get at 80 marks for a scheduled tribe candidate, if you get something like 60, 65 marks, you can easily get into the next best institutes, which are which take the SC/ST category 2. Lots of people don't even try because they don't even know that it's easy, especially given the fact that it's also a basic aptitude test. One statement I always make, probably will make it here too, is this. Guys, any skill requires repetition, a lot of practice. And that practice, if you can do, you would be in much better position to get it there. Last but not the least, we'll talk about the nature of any of these exams. This is an aptitude test, I said, therefore it's not a test of memory, but a test of skill. In a test of skill exam, what you need is, how do you prepare for these things? You need to have very, very good fundamentals of the basics. There are areas like arithmetic, algebra, pure mathematics, geometry, mensuration. You would have forgotten some of you, but you need to go back and relearn that. Grammar, vocabulary, reading speeds, which you may not have given a concentration on, you need to now give a concentration on to improve very, very consciously. Data interpretation and the reasoning skills will mean your basic speed mathematics, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication has to be very, very strong. Therefore, this is what I'm saying, basic fundamentals. The only way you can get it, once you understand what you need, is loads of practice. It's like you performing a dance performance in a college or a school or on a stage. You can't do it once and go on stage and try to do it. You will falter. You need to perfect your steps so that you perform brilliantly on a stage. So is the case with any exam, and definitely a skill-based exam like the aptitude one, whether it's CAT, XAT, GMAT or whatever else. It's also important that you know to a balanced preparation. This is one thing which lots of people don't understand. What is it that they don't understand? Because see, if you are good in quant, you keep on doing quant. If you are good in RC verbal, you keep on doing RC verbal, not the other one wrong. That you should avoid if you want to be good in it. For any exam, for any competitive exam, you need a smart approach. It's not just hard work that helps, but a smart work. What to study, what not to study, how much to study, when to study. All these things will become an important part of it. We also believe very strongly that you need to write the real test. It's like the T20. You can't, match practice is match practice, almost the match practice. So therefore, you need to try getting as close to the match practice as possible by doing a lot of mock tests. Here is one thing which of course institutes like Vistamind do, giving you the kind of guidance to ensure that you know what to prepare, how much to prepare, when to prepare, etc., etc., etc. And of course, as in any exam, you need a bit of luck, but fortune always favors the brave. When it's not a cliche, it's really, if you believe you can get it, it's very much easier. In fact, let me tell you one thing, guys. The only reason people don't write CAT, the only reason people don't get into the best institutes in the country is because they don't even try. Because somebody would have told them that it's so darn difficult to get into a top class MBA. And therefore you do a correspondence MBA from a not so great college. Correspondence MBA makes zero sense because that is not going to add value to your skill sets. Because remember, the whole of MBA is all about problem solving, interpersonal skills, analytical skills, and communication skills, negotiation skills, etc. kind of things. How would you get them reading any books? These are skills. You can only get them if you practice in your college. That's the reason why distance learning programs in MBA, they are purely a waste of money. While lots of people do that still because they feel good about having a degree called MBA. But what people need to realize is that is not what you will get. You need if you want a real growth in your job. Last but not the least, guys, after that you can always ask me questions. I said 1 hour is what we will take, another 6 minutes max. This is my team. My name is ARKS, ARKS Srinivas. I am Calcutta graduate, engineer in electronics and communication in Osmania University College of Engineering, MBA from IMC, as I said, 1997 batch. Have been training students for a lot of time. I was the All India Director for CAT in the leading institute in the country. Of course, we started VistaMind only 3 years back, 3.5 years back. I have a very, very strong team from the IIMs and people who have been working in this sector of training in students for CAT, GMAT and other competitive exams for a very, very long time. This is just a very small example for online. These are online trainers, but we are there in 11 cities and more than 20 centers across the country. Why VistaMind? Very clearly because we ensure that whatever exams you write, whether it is CAT, GMAT, etc., the handouts that we have are probably the best handouts which will kind of cover every topic that you require for writing these exams. Every mock CAT is prepared by the directors and the best trainers so that, in fact, all of us write the exams so that when we make these papers, they reflect the real CAT exam itself. Every paper, not every paper, but most of the papers are discussed such that you also get strategy along with understanding how to solve the questions. Tons and tons of online sectional tests to make sure that you are ready for the actual exam, and you will find it almost similar to what the exams that you write online sitting at home or anywhere else. Of course, you can get into HR without much of an ado, Ravi. You can. Only thing is you need to be able to, show those skill sets and show the kind of a background to get there, Ravi. We'll talk about that in a moment. One thing what you'll obviously get at VistaMind as Ravi is asking these kind of questions is to ensure that, look, whatever may be your background, depending on who you are and what you can do or what is your potential, there is a mentorship given to you at every step of the game. We have programs for CAT, GMAT, specifically for MBA. We also have CLAT, as somebody was asking, but that's for 12th class students. Full-time program, we are in 11 cities and 20 centers. We are the only institute in the country which has a really full-time online program. Every class available to people in the night at 9:30 like this, and also recorded so that people can go back and check the recording. People can attend the same class twice or thrice if required be, depending on their timing, not our timing, because we will have a continuous class timing. That makes very, very strong pitch to people who are working especially, and are people who don't want to travel too long. The other thing about online, any training program, is that there is a consistency that you are not left to yourself. You can study on your own, definitely. But I believe that somebody who can tell you every point of time how to prepare and what to prepare can make life much, much more easier. That's what we exist for. We do smart CAT discussion with directors I talked about. And of course, a lot of programs like workshops, specifically for areas like quant, DI, verbal, happen at the time, maybe 3 to 4 months before the CAT exam also. These are our numbers, guys. Then of course, now I'm going to start answering your questions. Lots of you have questions. But my name is ARKS, I said, arks@vistamind.com. You can note it down. You can WhatsApp my number, 99019227776. Similarly, another colleague of mine, he's my executive assistant also, and a graduate from IIM Indore, Srinivas, incidentally also Srinivas, is a.srinivas@vistamind.com. His number also I'm giving you. In fact, he's the online coordinator and the product manager for this, 9900022975. This, I thought, was a broad idea of what I wanted to talk about, why you want to do an MBA, is it possible to do an MBA, what are the specializations in MBA, and can anybody and everybody can do an MBA in that sense of the word. If you have questions, friends, please shoot, and I'm very glad to answer this. I'll just stop recording for this.